Hello and welcome to The Match Live here on StarTimes World Football Channel as we continue our live broadcast of the German Bundesliga matches here on the channel. And what a game we've seen today, where Schalke took a valuable point at the Allianz Arena against Bayern Munich. And a game, of course, we have on our hands the key fixture for today, where Borussia Dortmund plays host to visiting RB Leipzig at the Signal Iduna Park. My name is Janine, and gladly, I won't be doing this on my own. Usually the saying is, I am blessed amongst women. But this time around, it's the reverse, because I'm indeed blessed amongst men, as I have with me Bada Akintunde Johnson, who joins me now. Thank God I didn't murder that name. Welcome.
That's fine. Thanks. And it's a great pleasure to be in the studio for a big game like this. It's second against fourth. It's the Leicester City of German football this season, going up against a more traditional, winner in Borussia Dortmund. And haven't seen what happened in the first game, where Bayern Munich, who had prior to this round of games a 3-point lead, could only muster a point at home against Schalke. Leipzig know that if they win this game, they narrow the point gap down to 1, and there's no bigger incentive, really.
And still with us on the program is the quintessential Jonathan Akpoborie, who before this game we were subbing a little bit because of that Bayern result. But it's good to have you by my side. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's exciting to be here, really, because the game Borussia Dortmund RB Leipzig is always going to be an interesting game. Both teams are attacking teams, and I'm excited, and I just want to see them play attacking football.
Lots of excitement in the air because the German Bundesliga title race blown wide open. But then again, as we did mention, it's the second place team, RB Leipzig, all the way from Saxony, who will be looking to close in that gap at the top against Bayern Munich as they take on Borussia Dortmund at the Signal Iduna Park. And but I just want to throw this to you. We know how much of a vociferous place that stadium is, Signal Iduna Park. Yeah. How much influence will that 12th man have for this Dortmund team that you would say need lots of confidence in this one?
It's a massive impact the fans have. They're right on top of you. They're some of the most passionate fans in the world. The atmosphere is covered in black and yellow. It's an
yellow and black wall. It's like taxi, go home.
Yeah. It's an intimidating place, which is why they are undefeated in their last 29 home games. So they're such, the fans, that is such a big factor, and you can rightly call them the 12th man, because they get behind their team. They get right on top of the opposing team. It's very intimidating. The atmosphere is electrifying, and they move the team, every step of the way, and demand nothing, but the best results. And where the team can deliver the 3 points, at the barest minimum, never get defeated. And that's the task that is, that RB Leipzig are up against today, going to a team that hasn't lost in 29 games at home and beating them.
But then again, Jonathan, good point about, playing a team that's really strong at home. But you're taking on an RB Leipzig side who have won 5 of their away games and losing 4. But then again, back-to-back losses against Ingolstadt and Bayern Munich. But then what exactly will be their strategy coming into this one, ensuring that they look Dortmund in the eye and say, we get all 3 points?
It is a big game for them. It's actually the whole of Germany, not just the whole of Germany, the whole world is watching this game, because it's a delayed game in Germany. So they have everything to play for now that Bayern dropped 2 points against Schalke. So it's going to be always interesting for them. I think they will just grab the bull by the horn today. They want those 3 points by all means. I don't see them actually lying down for Borussia Dortmund to come and attack. They have to come out all the way for those 3 points, or maybe get a draw.
I liked it when Jonathan said we'll take the Bulls by the horn, because actually RB Leipzig, their other name is, they're called the Bulls. So definitely we'll see whose horn will be grabbed this time around. And, and Bada, coming into this game, the season in general, the CEO of Borussia Dortmund did mention that RB Leipzig were a team who were set up playing for soda cans. Very, very... not something I like to talk about, but 19 match days after 11 points, after, which of course Borussia Dortmund are behind RB Leipzig. What must they do in this game? Is it all about trying to keep the arrogance of the promoted boys in check? What must they do in this game to ensure that they end that feeling for them?
I did say in the first game that it's a two-horse race, apparently, in Germany. You have a 10-11 point gap, I think 10 points between Leipzig in second place and the third place team. So already there's some daylight between Leipzig and the fourth place team, which is Dortmund. So Dortmund will look at this as an opportunity to put Leipzig in their place. But like you said, these guys are brimming with confidence. I mean, they've got on some difficult travels already this season and acquitted themselves very well. If there's a team that can defy, this intimidating Borussia Dortmund record at home, it is this team, which is why this game is set up to be a cracking game of football. I mean, look at a team that has won 11 of their, past 13 league games. They started like a house on fire. And they look like they go push Bayern Munich all the way. And like I said earlier, they can take confidence from the run, their unlikely run to the title that Leicester City put up in what people would say is maybe the most difficult league to win by an underdog in the world, in England. And I think these guys can do it, because they're not about a particular superstar. They're not about,
it's a collective.
It's just a collective.
Unit, yes.
And they don't know when they're beaten. They don't seem to respect big names or big teams. They just go in there, deliver the performance on the day and get the points.
And of course, last weekend, we saw these two teams deliver points as well. Contrasting fortunes, you would say. But we will be giving you the highlights of the last group of matches between Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig up next. Welcome back. It's still The Match Live as we build up to the big fixture, Borussia Dortmund playing host to RB Leipzig. And we did see all of the highlights in that one where, Jonathan, I'll start with you. We looked at RB Leipzig coming from behind and taking one over a big rival in terms of Hoffenheim. You look at that team and you look at the team in Borussia Dortmund they're going to be facing today. How much of that 3 points will they need, or will they go for another snatch and grab? Remember, the last fixture was a 1-0 win when you looked at the 90th minute.
Yeah, Leipzig going to the Iduna Park today is always going to be how they want to defend and how they want to counter. Definitely, they are missing their top goal scorer, but in Keita they have somebody who actually drove them to the last victory. He was fearless. He had all the stamina to run the 90 minutes. At the end of the game, he would have been very happy with himself, and the coach would have been very happy with him also. I think he's going to be a key player for them, and I think he's going to be the one who is going to decide where Leipzig will be at the end of today's game.
And Bada, he did mention Timo Werner, of course, who is their highest goal scorer for RB Leipzig, 11 goals in total. He's out due to a bit of sickness. Yeah. And then you have a player who's coming in who's going to partner Yusuf Poulsen. And Keita, you can't really depend on Keita because he sometimes gets fielded in the full-back's position. Do you see them scoring goals in this one?
Well, when you're missing your talismanic striker, it can prove a problem. But the way the team is set up, they're not dependent on an individual, even though they shoulder the goal-scoring responsibility. Might take something away from the bite going forward, but it's about, building on a solid defensive shape, keeping it tight at the back, and taking their chances when they do arrive. And this Borussia Dortmund team is a team, since the winter break, that has provided opposition with tons and tons of chances to hurt them, especially in the second half of games. They've started games strongly, and in the second half, they've gone off the ball, like we saw against Mainz 05 last weekend. I mean, the first half, it was one-way traffic, Borussia Dortmund. Second half, it was one-way traffic, Mainz. It was a classic game of two halves. So Leipzig looked like the team that if presented those kind of chances, it wouldn't matter if their top scorer was missing or not. They definitely will get chances against this Dortmund team, and they can take them. And
still sticking with you, now we've made mention of the fact that maybe this will hamper RB Leipzig, losing their talismanic striker. And for Borussia Dortmund, who in their last couple of games, the last 5 games, have just had 1 win. It's not great, but it's not bad at the same time.
It's bad because they're losing ground. This is a team that should be pushing Bayern Munich traditionally for the title.
That's where RB Leipzig comes in.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's not a disaster for Dortmund in that they're not in the bottom half of the table, or neither are they, battling relegation. But if you look at the points gap between them and the front runners, it's not good enough.
Yes. And we saw that game on where Borussia Dortmund did concede to Hoffenheim in that one. What part of their defensive fragilities do we point or pin down to the coach Thomas Tuchel? He's been here for about 2 seasons, made some sales, gotten in some acquisitions for the club, but it seems they haven't really moved on from the fact that Borussia Dortmund aren't so great defensively. You still have Schmelzer, who is championing your backline. He's getting older. What do you make of this?
You see, Dortmund, they've lost Hummels, for example. Hummels had been for Dortmund a rock, so to say, in the defense for Dortmund. Then getting in new players to actually come into the system and start playing the way, comfortably, the way Hummels and Sobotsik used to play for Dortmund. Sometimes it does take time. That is why you find out some bigger teams in Europe, when they buy all these big players for big money, those ones, they slide into the system and they start playing. They hit the ground running. But some of these other players, they need some time. And I think that's the time Tuchel actually needs for this defense to start producing as the attack is doing for Dortmund.
So much more as we come back from this short breather. We see Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig. Much more surprises, much more statistics here, right here, as we take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's still the match live. Borussia Dortmund taking on RB Leipzig, our big fixture today. If you just missed it, Bayern Munich playing at the Allianz Arena were held to a 1-1 draw against Schalke, which means automatically the title race has been blown wide open, because second place RB Leipzig will be hoping to close that gap to just 1 point as they take on Borussia Dortmund at the Signal Iduna Park. And let's look at the personnel, Jonathan. I'll come back to you. We did mention Marcel Schmelzer. And back from the Africa Cup of Nations is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We saw him in that game against Hoffenheim. Looked a little leggy at times. Looked like he needed much more in terms of boost and confidence. Is he the man who should lead this Borussia Dortmund side to getting all 3 points today? Well,
definitely. Coming back from the Nations Cup, he's had maybe 1-2 weeks to get used to the weather again and get used to his teammates. Dortmund has been his home for quite a while, so it's not like, I'm playing with a new team again. It is just same old, same old. He's at home playing in front of about 87,000 people. So it's for him to start performing the way he used to. Last week would be, the first game after the Nations Cup, but now this is time for him to deliver.
Absolutely, delivering on all fronts. And then for RB Leipzig, Bada, we have also mentioned the fact that losing key players would make them more of a defensive shape. Is that what is going to help them against a team, 29 games unbeaten at home? And we can, from your screen, see the lineup. Royce right there for Borussia Dortmund, who, of course, will be leading this one. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang looking very menacing as well, hoping to take charge of this team. More of a 4-1-4-1 formation for them, with Julian Weigl right there trying to break up play for Borussia Dortmund. The way to go, Jonathan?
Well, in that formation there's an interesting player, Dembele. Dembele is fantastic for them. And here for the Leipzig team, Khedira, Sanka, Keita. Keita, like I said, has been very important. He does a lot of work for them defensively and in the offense also. Poulsen is there. Selke is
replacing Timo. That's what I was going to say. So how do we? Let's play this out. You've seen them play a couple of times this season. Selke and Poulsen. What exactly are they going to bring to this team today? Because they were missing that function.
Poulsen actually does something for Leipzig. He keeps the ball very, very well. And when a striker can keep the ball, he keeps the defense relaxed. At that time that he's keeping the ball, they have moment of respite to actually regroup and say, okay, yes, we are waiting for the next attack. And for a game like this against Dortmund, that would be priceless.
Absolutely priceless. And for you, Bada, with what you saw in that lineup, RB Leipzig, will you say maybe just the point should suffice? I mean, looking at how they've really not been beating the big boys, they didn't defeat Bayern Munich as well. Do you think a point would just be be enough to suffice in this game? Just keep that edge with Bayern Munich going forward.
Well, ordinarily, a point at Dortmund would be a great result, but within the context of the realities of the Bundesliga this season, it might be viewed as not good enough, because if they must keep pace with Bayern Munich and ward off the threat of Dortmund, Hoffenheim and the guys around them, they've got to, you know, win games like this, especially against a vulnerable Dortmund team. You look at that team in defense, Socrates Papastopoulos and Marc Bartra. Bartra brought in from Barcelona where he wasn't getting games. He's coming to this team and is expecting to play elegantly like a PK, you know, running balls out of defense, picking out 30, 40-yard passes. But, you know, the primary function of a defender is to defend. You know, and they are not doing that well at the moment in time.
Borussia Dortmund have shown that defenders do much more than defending.
But you see Matt Hummels and players like that, you know, they're elegant, ball to feet, you know, they know how to pick the passes and all that, but they also read the game intelligently. They're able to tackle when they should. They can close down people, you know, get blocks in. So they can do both. Boateng at Bayern Munich as well. But Bartra, for me, doesn't do his primary, you know, responsibility well enough. And that leaves a team, team, you know, set up offensively like this, very vulnerable to counter-attacks.
And Jonathan, Andre Scholler said something quite critically just before this game, saying that Borussia Dortmund, they've lost most points because they play against scrappy teams and don't get the important points. And he made a very important statement. He says they may be treading on water. Do you agree with that assessment so far?
No. I don't think so. Like I said before, you know, the coach has to put his philosophy through, and the coach.
How much of that has he really done? I don't think the Borussia Dortmund side really different from young clubs.
The buck stops with the coach, and whatever philosophy he wants to play, he has to put through for his defenders to follow. They've been scoring goals, no doubt about it, but it's the manner at which they defend that has been the problem. So whatever problem they are having on the field, it has to be from the coach.
Has to be from the coach there. But then again, we're gearing up for that first half action between Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig. The players are just filing out as we speak. And your final takes, Bada, I almost called you Borussia Dortmund. You look like one. What is your take for the first 45? Because we really don't want to get the full-time scores now.
The last time these guys met, Leipzig won 1-0. It was Keita that scored.
Snatch and crab.
Yeah, it was Keita that scored. So I expect some of the same, try and nullify the attacking threat of Dortmund and hit them on the break. So I think Dortmund will have much of the ball, but Leipzig will be the more threatening team, and I expect that maybe first 45, they'll get a goal 1-0.
Jonathan, 0-0 at halftime. You seem to be the prophet right now in the studio.
No, I don't think it will be 0-0. This game is just, it has got goals written all over it, because both teams are attacking teams. Dortmund, they are not defending well. Leipzig, they also concede goals. So I'm looking at maybe a score draw in the first half. Indeed,
we are looking forward to goals galore as we cross over as the first 45 between Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig at the Signal Iduna Park takes place right now. We'll see you at halftime.
These are two of the top 3 scorers in this season's Bundesliga.
You're welcome back to The Match Live, German Bundesliga coverage between Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig at the Signal Iduna Park. And it's been an amazing first 45. If you missed out from that first half, well, you've missed a lot, because indeed it's been a fantastic battle. And I'll start with you, Bada, because I started with you because, of course, you made the wrong prediction. 1-0 you gave to RB Leipzig, and it's totally switched. What happened?
Well, I thought that the intensity in Dortmund's game from the very beginning was absolutely spot on. They moved the ball quicker than it did in earlier games. But I also thought that it probably bears similarity with how they played in the first half of the last 2 games. Like I said at the top of the show, they would play this way very impressively, almost blow the other team out of the waters. And then in the second half, they would run out of steam. So first half, near excellent. You know, they were quicker to the first and second balls. And, you know, going forward, they were very incisive. Dembele on the right side of midfield was absolutely unplayable. We saw in how he served that goal on the plate for Aubameyang, really ghosted his way past 3 markers at pace and whipped in a wicked, delicious ball for the man to nod in. Possession-wise, it was close, 54% to 46%. for Leipzig. And if you look at the shots on target, it's just 1-1 each way. So for all the possession that Dortmund have had, they haven't exactly created clear-cut opportunities. They had 5 shots in total, but only one found, target, and that was a critical one, the goal. So, like I said, the difference from the last 45 of the last game against Mainz and what they played in the first half was the intensity in their play, how quickly they won the first ball, how quick they won the second ball, and they just didn't give Leipzig any opportunity to get at them.
It's really critical what you said, because, Jonathan, we watched the game also, and we saw from that statistics there on the board where we had 10 fouls to Borussia Dortmund committed when you look at RB Leipzig's 9. And we know Borussia Dortmund are not the very physical side you expect. Was that the game plan? Break them, break RB Leipzig from getting into any flow and hit them on the break, because we saw Pierre Aubameyang's goal being the difference in this one.
Well, you see, it was always going to be a decision in the midfield who was going to win the midfield, and the tussle you could see from the tackles, and the tackles won, tackles lost. All of those things contribute in this game today. And Dortmund, they've actually done very well. They've been compact, but in attacking-wise, Dembele has been unbelievable. Just as Bada, just as Bada said. And those kind of individual players are those players that can actually twist a game in your favor when the tussle in the midfield is 50-50, and that is what has happened today.
Julian Weigl for Borussia Dortmund really being the difference. We saw him just sitting in front of the defenders there, and we thought he was going to make the difference for them, and we can see the highlights on the screen. Dembele, who of course Bada says is his favorite Dembele in the world, giving that delicious cross on the plate for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who makes it 17 goals, the leading goal scorer. But Jonathan, you don't think he's that clever? I think you mentioned that off the record.
I was just saying that, he is that kind of striker. He has pace, but he doesn't have that little cleverness, and you could see the way the goal was created for him. Dembele, he had to improvise.
I wish we could do that replay over and over.
When you improvise like that, then you have the ball sense. Aubameyang doesn't really have that, but he has the instinct for goals. And those kind of goals, they're priceless in Europe.
And speaking of instincts for goals, Bada, how much are RB Leipzig missing Timo Werner? I mean, we've seen Yusuf Poulsen everywhere but nowhere in front of the goal. We've seen David Selke sulking literally all through the pitch. What exactly should Raf, the coach, do at the break to ensure that they have some sort of standing, or do they wait for Borussia Dortmund to capitulate and then take their chances?
Well, we saw the stats in terms of tackles, made. And you said Dortmund naturally are not so physical. Now, the difference here is that they've denied Leipzig any opportunity to build some kind of head of steam. They've been very quick to close them down. So I don't think that even if they had a man in the box, it would have made any difference, because there were no supplies.
But then that means less work for Poulsen, who is defending. He's trying to anchor the midfield, and he's still trying to create chances because there's nobody to receive the ball.
Well, you see, they simply have to do more. They simply have to wrestle the midfield from Dortmund, because when you get that, then you can now create something up front. Keita has not done what he did in the last game. He has been just floating, playing, just like any other player. He has to really wrestle that midfield back from Dortmund before they can create up front.
Naby Keita scoring that goal, that deciding goal. When you look at September, when these two teams played at the arena for RB Leipzig, really missing in this one. But then again, what changes can this RB Leipzig team make? We remember, Jonathan, in the first half, we saw them try a little bit on set pieces, which, of course, you can say aerially are their strength. Should you think they should be more physical, get those set pieces, and see if they can get some goals from there?
Well, set pieces are part of the game anyway, so they are going to have that. But the midfield is very, very important, and I think they have to make maybe 1 or 2 changes. Even if Keita can't really get into the game, they have to bring somebody who will be energetic enough to really impose himself on the Dortmund midfield.
Any changes for you, Bada, for Dortmund? They didn't close that game out against Mainz.
Yeah.
We saw a Mainz side that could have easily won the previous fixture.
Yeah.
What should Thomas Tuchel tell his men in the dressing room so that they can at least close out this point? 1 win in 5 games?
Yeah, that's not good enough. They've had too many draws. You can't win championships drawing games all over the place. I think that they've got to keep the intensity, going. In previous games, they've dropped the intensity and they've suffered for it. Mario Götze, Andre Schürrle, Shinji Kagawa are options off the bench. But the critical thing here is that the 3 going forward, Marco Reus, Aubameyang, and Dembele, are probably the quickest, front 3 you'll find anywhere in the world. Absolute speed demons who can hit you on the break. So I'll think that in the first maybe 10-15 minutes of the first half, give Leipzig a false sense of we can get back into this game and hit them with the sucker punch, hit them on the break, score the second goal. If they get that second goal in the first 15-20 minutes of the second half, game is as good as done and dusted. Okay,
so this is the opportunity now for our 2 experts to remix their predictions. But what do you see at the end of second 45?
Tight to call still, but I think Dortmund will shed this 2-1. Look
at you. Jonathan, and you?
I think Leipzig are ripe to get something away from Dortmund, so I'm still going for a draw.
Ripe to get something away from this game. We're hoping it's going to be very tasty and delicious just after the second 45. We'll let you enjoy that, and we'll be right back. My word. I was going to just stare straight at the camera and say, what is going on? That is what The Match Live has brought to you in that game between Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig. Such an entertaining game that has seen Borussia Dortmund stake some pride and defeating RB Leipzig 1-0 courtesy of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's header and, of course, Ousmane Dembele's cross there. It must be disappointing, gentlemen, that RB Leipzig are indeed human.
Well, not so disappointing. I didn't think that they did enough to get 3 points. Maybe a point if they managed to steal it at the end like they almost did. But on the balance of play, I thought that Dortmund were the better side and should have won by a wider margin. They were guilty of frittering chance after chance away. Aubameyang and Marco Reus, most guilty of the Dortmund players. They should have won by a wider margin, but they won't be complaining. What matters is 3 points, and the fact that they've cut down the gap between themselves and their opponents to, I think, 8 points now.
8 points.
So they're not totally out of it because it's still a long way to go. This is early February. We're still going all the way to May.
Indeed, still a very long way in terms of the analysis. We will bring it to you right after we take this short breather. All right, welcome back to The Match Live. We have brought to you Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig. If you're just joining us, that game did end 1-0 in favor of Borussia Dortmund. 4th place Borussia Dortmund, which is seemingly unlikely. And Jonathan, I'll come to you now. A 1-0 win. You may say it's a slender one, but does it finally restore some confidence to Thomas Tuchel's side?
Well, in the second half, they actually stamped their authority on the midfield. They controlled the game all through the second half. Like Tunde said, they should have won the game convincingly, but, giving up chances from Marco Reus, Aubameyang, they were wasteful. But at the end, they were lucky winners. 3 points is in the bag. On to the next game.
And unanimously, we did mention, or we did agree, rather, that we had one particular moment that was exquisite. Sometimes it feels like you can take one and leave the other, which is the goal by Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to give Borussia Dortmund that lead and that win. But the build-up to that goal, gentlemen, absolutely exquisite. The favorite Dembele, I think I've joined that bandwagon, haven't I? Look at that. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was all about Dembele. Even though Aubameyang got the goal, it was about his brilliance, his pace, his trickery.
Look at that run.
The way he breezed past his markers like they were not there. And the vision to pick out Aubameyang at the back post, the right weight on that ball, just perfect. Everything about the move, absolutely stunning. Dembele does have a bright future in the game. definitely want to look out for.
Want to look out for, and that also extends Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's charge at the top. Imagine someone going for AFCON and still was the leading goal scorer. He's back with more pace and more energy to burn, and he's leading that charge. Did you think he had one of his best games, or it was masked by RB Leipzig's poor defensive stability at the back?
No. Instinctively, you know, he's one of the best, and that's exactly what he did today. It was kind of like he knew exactly where the ball was going to come to, and you know, Dembele did everything, you know, only for Aubameyang just to be there, and he was there.
I think that was the second time we did see that opportunity. The first time it was the reverse, where it was Aubameyang giving the cross to Dembele. He missed it,
exactly.
And then it's almost like that was the plan, to hit them on the break, make sure they're very physical, and then score such goals against Leipzig.
That's what I was telling you, that you know, the football sense, where to place the ball, how to place the ball. The ball was just there for Aubameyang to meet the ball, and that's where you actually see the creative players. Dembele is one of them.
And to you, Bada, now Bayern Munich must be breathing easy at top of the table. They would have seen, after making it a 1-1 draw, they wouldn't have thought that Leipzig would lose to Borussia Dortmund. But then again, it's really wide open now. Yeah,
at the start of the weekend, Bayern would have looked at the fixtures, hoping that Dortmund will do them a favor by beating Leipzig, which has happened. But they didn't do their own bit of the business in stretching their lead to 6 points. But they won't be complaining about having a four-point gap. They go into a very tough period. Champions League football is back. They have 2 very, very difficult games against Arsenal coming up. That will take something out of the team, especially because they are missing key players. Boateng is still out injured. They can't afford any injuries. Those travels, they will go to London to play a very difficult game. They do take something out of the team. So a 4-point lead gives you some kind of elbow room.
Cushion.
Yeah, it gives you some kind of elbow room to maybe make mistakes and not pay dearly for them.
It's been amazing doing this with the gentlemen right here in the studio. But the action continues, because we move to the Serie A, where Bologna will take on Napoli. Thank you guys for doing this with me.
Thank you very much.
Of course, keep staying tuned here on The Match Live, as we'll be back to give you some Serie A. My name is Janine. Have a great day.